I'm going to share my screen. So my name is Lynn Reesrove. I'm the convener for the task group of invasive alien species for TEDWIC. So I have made a presentation where I just go through all the updates that we have, well, of the task group, the updates for the last few months, what we are doing, and also I will outline the plans for the next few months and year. I will just share my screen so you can see my presentation. Yes. Okay, so you should be able to see my presentation. Do you see the presentation or you see? Okay. So I'm going to do a slideshow. Okay, great. So the context, this task group is about invasive alien species. I don't need to say that this is a big problem for both economical reasons and biodiversity. That we need tools to monitor invasive alien species. So we have there's indicators. We have developed early alert tools, but for that we need data, and we need to be able to aggregate the data. Well, for instance, for this early alert tool here, we used GBIF as data aggregator. But it all starts with the source data. So this is a picture for the situation of Belgium, where there's a lot of different data sources that we need to map to Darwin Core and then publish the data to GBIF. So this is quite complex. And for occurrence data, we are able more or less to map invasive alien species data to Darwin Core. But for instance, for management of invasive alien species, it's more problematic because, for instance, information about management actions and the evaluations of management actions are occurrences, but management actions themselves, it's more problematic because you want to report about the methods that have been used and the materials. So for this reason, the invasive species task group started in September 2024 after the TEDWIC meeting in Okinawa. So I'm the convener, and at this point we meet at a monthly basis. This slide is just to make a distinction between the task group of that Quinten was convening that has now delivered its output. So the tasks are done. And this task group was about having a revised vocabulary for different Darwin Core terms and have a new Darwin Core term pathway. So now this task group was originally focusing on invasive alien species management actions, but we decided to just broaden the scope and include both information on occurrences, management actions, and invasive alien species checklist. So the plan was in the beginning to start gathering use cases. So we wanted to do this by the end of 2024. We wanted to have our use cases gathered, but well, we're still gathering use cases. So the planning was a bit delayed, I think, because it's very important to take your time to see who manages what kind of data. So for this reason, we have sent out a survey and we combined our forces with the GBIF task group on invasive alien species. That is also focusing on mobilizing and improving biodiversity data for invasive alien species research and policy. So data standards is also a part or a focus of this task group, although, yeah, of course, this task group, this TEDWIC task group is all about data standards. So there's an overlap. And so we decided to, oh, there's someone else. Can I Yeah. Okay. So we decided to join forces. And we have sent a survey out. I think it was about a month ago that was distributed among the different channels. What do we want to do with the survey is just trying to figure out who is involved in recording invasive alien species data. With recording, I mean entering something in a systematic way in a database or a spreadsheet, and not just, well, writing stuff down in a book. What we wanted to know is get insight in the database schema or the content into data dictionaries, data collection protocols. So one of the questions is, does your record include information about, for instance, collection protocol, verification methods, verification status, ownership, absence, degree of establishment, trophical interactions, other impacts, or welfare status? And also, for instance, do people or organizations use controlled vocabularies for certain terms? So for collection protocol, nativeness of an invasive alien species or origin, degree of establishment, impact, and welfare status. So in the end, what a real goal was is, next to getting basic information about the content of the database, we wanted to know if people want to share an export of their database schema, their database contents, data dictionary, or the collection template, so that we can contact those people or institute to have more details about what is in there. So we focus on species occurrences, management actions, and species lists. And at this point, we have about, I didn't check yesterday evening, but yesterday afternoon, we had about 119 responses, mainly focusing on terrestrial species, plant species, and we have a nice, well, spread over the different spatial levels. So both on a local level, we have databases focusing on the regional level, but also on the national and the international level. So the next part, what I'm planning to do now, so the survey will still be open and it's available in the different languages. So it's also available in Spanish, Portuguese, it's available in German and Chinese. After we close the survey, we'll want to start reviewing these use cases. This is where the actual work starts. So what we want to do is we want to contact the database owners and to select a few of these use cases that we think are a good variation in different use cases. And we will then start to work out in a very detailed way several of these use cases. So what we really want to do is we want to have a narrative description of these use cases. So just basically writing down in words what is provided in terms of databases. So for instance, when you see this example here, just in the narrative, one paragraph here is actually one line in the database. So we want to just step by step describe what is happening so we can extract all information that is needed. So this division of tasks will be the topic of next meeting. So on the 6th of May, I will give a complete overview of all the information we have received from the survey. And then we will start dividing the tasks among the task group members to see who can contribute to which use case. So, and then in the end, the idea is to compare each of the use cases with what is available in the Darwin Core and identify Darwin Core terms that aren't there yet, or for instance, to see whether existing Darwin core terms may have like a more vocabulary, or the vocabulary could be extended. So for instance, in this example here, there was information about the main method and the sub-methods of the management action, but there is nothing in Darwin core that makes this distinction between main and sub-method. There's just sampling protocol. Same thing for so information about the effort, which type of effort was done. Everything really needs to be lumped into sampling efforts. Also, who recorded the observation? Was it a field manager, citizen scientists? Also, these different kinds of information is just really recorded and recorded by. So I think, yeah, we still need to have a clear look at these Darwin core terms. Same thing, for instance, for material types or the brand non-target impacts. So there's still some work to do there. And then this was also something we discussed yesterday, is to see whether the indicators for the biodiversity, the global biodiversity framework target 6, so that is the target on invasive alien species, whether the data and the databases is useful actually to calculate these indicators, and whether Darwin core also supports this kind of this kind of information. So what you ideally want is you want to aggregate data from GBIF, holding information where we are able to calculate in an automated way these different indicators. But if there's no Darwin core term that covers this information, I think we need to really focus on that as well. So I understood yesterday that this text is quite small. So what I think here is important is to go through these indicators. So there's the headline indicator, the rate of invasive alien species establishment. So this will probably be information included in establishment means, but we still need to have a clear look on what to do with this information. Same for the component indicators. So rate of invasive species impact and rate of impact. This is 2 times the same thing, well, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not sure what's the difference between rate of invasive species impact and rate of impact. It's just the invasive, I guess. So we were also wondering, what does rate of invasive species impact mean exactly? These indicators are quite broad, so I think we also need a good discussion on that. Rate of invasive species spread and number of invasive species introduction events. So these are the
Lynn, I put some documents into the chat, which the ones we looked at yesterday that were related to that, and I found a couple more.
Okay, thanks for providing that information. So yeah, this is something we need to keep in mind. And then there's, what I call manias. It's just the preliminary data exchange formats we developed in our team. So we would like to compare the difference between what we have made at this point, what is possible with Darwin core. So the only difference really is that we here have a table that is, so these are all different tables. So there's a table for location, taxa, media, actors, and organization. And then there's this table for management action. So this is new, and we would like to see how this fits within the current Darwin core standards. So after we have reviewed use cases, I hope we have identified Darwin core terms that are missing or that still need some revision. So we will have a proposal to extend the Darwin core standards. And I would also like to advertise for the coming Living Data 2025 conference in Colombia, where we also have a session. Quentin, you have a remark?
Yeah, it's just when we were talking at yesterday's session, think you raised it about having a minimum set of Darwin core terms filled for invasive species records. And it reminded me, I was reflecting on that. I think there has been discussion of doing something like that for Darwin core for other kinds of records. So like minimum information on a specimen. I don't know how that would be structured, but it might be something I'll raise later today at the Darwin Core Maintenance Group, for instance, because I think other people have suggested that in the past. And it would be nice to have, guidance for people who are observing invasive species or publishing invasive species data to know what that minimum core set of terms to fill out would be.
So you mean the basic information you want when exchanging information on invasive alien species?
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you mean? Mm-hmm. Yes,
I think you said it in so many words yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's true. Especially what I would like to have in the end is to have like so this immediately comes to my last slide. So I think it would be great to have something like a data exchange format specifically focusing on invasive alien species. So, for instance, you have this at this point for ChemTrap-DP. So it's a data package focusing only on camera trap data, and it's very supported by the camera trap community. So I think it would be great to have a similar kind of data exchange format that is specifically focusing on invasive alien species, so only contains the fields needed to exchange information about that. Yes, so I agree. And I also we were discussing yesterday, so how this relates to the work with the Darwin Core Archives version 2 and frictionless data. So if my information is correct, then indeed Darwin Core Archives version 2 are moving towards frictionless data package. So I hope then for every use case, and then I mean not use cases within the invasive alien species context, but more like, okay, invasive species, chemtrap data, well, I have a tunnel vision now, so I just cannot come up with other examples at this point. But yeah, like for every big use case, biodiversity related use case, it would be great to have like a data exchange packet. So to exchange data between the big data bases or so that would make aggregating and exchanging information much easier. So we also discussed yesterday how many use cases would we need to have a good first version of such a maybe exchange formats. And so I also asked the question earlier in this presentation, how could this work support the target 6 indicators for global biodiversity framework? So I have been talking a lot. I'm not sure if there are any remarks maybe from Maarten or Will or Terry at this point. Yeah, Quinten also, you're very welcome. Maarten?
Yeah, just for the use cases, do you have any idea how globally spread your use cases are? Maybe you can identify lacking ones based on regions that we don't cover yet.
Yes, that would be great. I think, well, so we now have 119 examples. So I guess it's now spread. Yeah, I think there's a good spread. We have use cases from South Africa, Northern Africa. We have some use cases from Asia, Australia, Europe, so Africa as well. So I think it would be great to pick one, like for each continent, at least one use case. Also focusing on maybe the regional level and also more on an international level. So yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, also Javier, sorry, because you popped in the middle of the presentation, I forgot you were there as well. So if you have any remarks, please feel free
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. Yes. No, I'm just catching up basically with the different sessions. Yeah, at this stage. I was thinking more on the taxonomic group, whether there is basically a good coverage.
Okay. Okay, so Quentin, I was also thinking about your remark for the what message should we take to the Darwin Core maintenance group, because that's not 100% clear to me at this point.
There were a couple of things we talked about yesterday. One was how much does a management event of invasive species relate to event core? So when you're actually removing or spraying or trapping, is that an event in the context of event core, or is that event just a sort of observation event? That was one thing. Yeah, I think I guess we're still interested in things like the interactions of species and how we can use those for understanding impact and the degree of impact. So we mentioned cause of death yesterday, but
yes,
it's very difficult to say in Darwin Core and use the data that something predated on another thing and that resulted in the death of the other thing. That's extremely hard to say in Darwin Core. Well, maybe it's possible to describe it somehow with the terms, but actually using the data, you know, if it's aggregated on GBIF, I don't think that's possible. I'm not sure how we would do that.
Yeah.
So, but it's predation events, it's herbivory events, it's parasitism and things like this. Although parasitism is relatively easy because you've got a very tight link often between host and parasite.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Well,
yeah.
I was curious actually whether, I don't know if Martin, there's Shelley, whether Martin would like to comment, because he's been working on trying to calculate some of the indicators or the headline indicator for the global biodiversity framework. And I'm just curious what data, well, there's two things, whether the data standard works for him, if there's data that he doesn't have, that he would have preferred to have, or whether it's the quality of the data and what sort of level of data, more data he wants.
I think the most interesting for me would be a bigger integration between the GRIS checklists and the data, or the raw occurrence data. I mean, if I would have on occurrence level an ID of the status in the GRIS checklists, that would help me already quite a lot.
So do you mean a link between the identifier of your occurrence record?
Actually, a link between the taxon, the country, and the status in the GRIS list.
Okay.
That doesn't exist, because when you open up a taxon in, oh no, maybe not.
Well, not because it's depending on country. So,
right.
So you need somehow a link between the individual occurrence and then a GRIS status, which you can do, but you still need to do the matching per country.
Okay, I'm not sure I get that 100%. So would you like to have a status for a species globally? But that doesn't really make sense.
No,
right?
no, not globally, just per country. So if I build the indicator for a certain country, I need to know for that country whether the thing is considered an invasive or not. But if that information would be already available at the occurrence level and not at the GRIS list level, that would simplify the work, because then I could start from pure occurrences and not first having to match it with GRIS.
Okay.
So I guess you've got establishment means, but what you're saying is establishment means probably not filled out in many cases.
No, in most cases it doesn't. It isn't.
So what you need actually is you used establishment means where you've got it, because obviously it could be invasive some places in the country and not in the others, but where you haven't got it, you've got a default that it's not native in that country or something like that. So you from a species level.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the same discussion all over again that we were having yesterday, that the establishment weans as great fields, but it's almost, well, I wouldn't say almost never is maybe too strong, but it's not much that it,
I don't-
go ahead.
Well, I think establishment means is probably the better one because that's been around the longest. The degree of establishment, which
Sorry,
is,
yes, I'm
is
confusing
the
the
one.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the degree of establishment is not. So yeah, people do use degree of establishment. Establishment means, I think.
Yes, but degree of establishment is certainly a field in the Auburn core that could need more attention. I wonder if there's a way to, there's no way to have this information provided automatically. It's really an expert judgment, I would say. So, yeah, there's nothing you can really do about it rather than convincing people to
With the degree of establishment, yeah, you can't.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
case by case basis, and you can't do much about it. I saw Shelley joined us as well. Maybe she has something to say.
Hi, no, I am just merely listening in. But hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi. I was also thinking last week whether it could be useful. So there are these GBIF hosted pages, to have a hosted pages focused on invasive alien species occurrences, for instance. Would that be an interesting thing to do? Because I see this kind of initiatives popping up, like for instance, I keep using the same example, but that's just because I'm also involved. Like for camera trap data, there's also coming in a hosted portal on GBIF. So I was wondering if this could be relevant as well for invasive alien species. So that would need us to tag occurrences of invasive alien species in GBIF. And then we could use that data for a hosted portal, for instance, to group all the data together in one place. Would that be something relevant to do? It's just an open question.
Trying to think of who's going to use it. So it's for.
It's really for consulting the data in a more easy way than because now you would probably need to filter on species names and the degree of establishment as well. So it's just a way of visualizing the data.
Yeah, I think if you solve the problem for the indicator, you can easily generate a hosted portal, because if you know which occurrences to use to calculate your indicator, you also can just build a hosted portal out of this.
Yeah, I think it would be great as a tool to visualize the data and, for instance, to make reporting easier, or to play around with the data. Yeah, I'm not sure. It was just a vague idea. If that would be an interesting thing to do, but
I think, yeah, I'm trying to think how we could relate it to impact or something. And there's so many different invasive species. That's part of the problem. But if it was limited to a subset of very impactful.
So, for instance, for our field managers, they are always asking for this kind of data. So they want to see what other partners did. So they want to have a map to see where all the management actions occurred. And based on that map, they can then, for instance, hi Martin, they can, for instance, divide the tasks. So they can see that Vespa velutina has been observed in a certain location. And if they see that record popping up on the map, they can divide tasks between the different managers, and then they can still follow up. So, for instance, someone can manage that species, and they can actually see that on the map. I'm not sure if you followed, or are you busy moving? Okay, so it's just really visualizing management actions on a map and dividing the tasks, and as a tool for communicating between field managers. You get my point? So this has been asked a lot in Belgium, well, in Flanders anyway, and I was wondering if this kind of tool is useful to extend to the
But
scope.
the problem is we don't have the data for it yet, I guess, though, do we?
No, so we first need to be able to visualize management data, because we cannot do this at this point.
And is that collected in Belgium? I mean, centrally somewhere?
Management information, no. So we will use GBIF to centralize all this information. But I think it would be great to have a tool where people actually consult where an invasive alien species is seen, maybe for the first time, and where it is managed and by who, so actors can coordinate more between each other. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a wild idea, but
Maybe we could hear from Javier or Will or Shelley about the situation in the countries they live in.
maybe Will, can you eliminate a little bit more?
Yeah, good question. I don't think that there's systematic collection of management data through the agencies that are doing invasive species management here. It's probably pretty ad hoc, and it certainly doesn't come to us as the national aggregator of occurrence information, although we do have it in our national data schema for control actions. It's pretty limited vocabulary, more or less. Has the invasive species been controlled or not? And I think this has come about from some very particular projects. I do know one good example where management action data is collected systematically, though, and that's it's actually a private company who's partnering with some of the Finnish municipalities to crowdsource the control of invasive plant species. So they collect data directly from citizen scientists and citizen invasive species managers, really, who go out and find incursions of stuff like lupins, and will take a photo, upload it using this app. Then they will do some sort of manual control of the thing, take another photo, and then they get, I think it's a monetary prize for this. And so they collect that data, and a program was piloted last year, and they've started to roll it out. And so we're getting that data at GBIF Finland. So yeah, that's a use case that just came to my mind that would benefit from structured
Yes.
data on managing species and controlled vocabularies.
Yeah, I think it would be great to get insight into that specific use case. Yes. Yeah. So I'm not sure if somehow we can get insight into, well, or if we can contact these people, maybe send a survey also to them, so we can have
Yeah,
sneak peek in
I'm
their data structure.
good. I'm in touch with them. They're very much sort of the people in charge of the program at the company are more software developers and they're running a business, not so much biodiversity informaticians or even scientists or even managers. So they work with the local government who are actually interested in the management, and these people are interested in the software development side of it. And yeah, so it is a question of who will actually be able to provide good information.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can look into it.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks. So Javier, how was your work related to invasive alien species?
Sorry, now I should have disclaimed that I will only be speaking
Oh,
out of
yes.
turn because no, my background is not in biodiversity or ecology, so I was more as a listener. But having said that, if I can just go back just a little bit with the different ideas that you were proposing on whether you have considered evaluating Humboldt extension as part of the review that you are going to do for Darwin Core. Probably that is the most that I can contribute in this conversation.
Yes. So I think I have, yes, I had a look at the Humboldt extension, and it does include some useful information, some useful fields. I think, for instance, for bycatch species, they have a field included in the Humboldt extension, if I'm not mistaken. And I suppose that information about management actions could also be published using the protocol fields. I'm not sure what the exact Darwin Core term is for that, but they do have fields focusing on protocols. But even if we could use those specific Humboldt extension fields, then I think we would still need a vocabulary for management actions. So I think that's the least we should do in this work group is in this task group is start focusing on a vocabulary. That's my minimum output of this task group. So there is the big distinction between the manual extraction of plants or manual removal of animals. There's the mechanical removal, there's chemical treatments, and there is interaction with other species. So for instance, introducing competing species. I think these are the 4 big categories. But then you still have sub-levels. So yeah, I think we need to think about that. But yeah, you're right that the Humboldt extension is indeed also an option to have some information included.
Thanks.
So I don't know if anyone has other remarks or questions.
I do wonder, so Belgium being kind of surrounded by lots of other countries has to work together and share data with other countries, because there's, for instance, no point us trying to control Canada geese if they're just all flying in from around. Which is actually what happens. We just control them and then other people don't, and yeah, what's the point? So in some countries, like I'm thinking Australia and New Zealand, are sufficiently isolated from other countries that they must have central databases for management and things like this, because they can know more easily. And so I would have thought that people in New Zealand, particularly with their, I don't know whether the 2030 target for the getting rid of predators, would have some sort of management database or something like this, because they're managing the whole time. It's not completely ad hoc.
So yeah, I haven't heard of this, but I also wonder, can you just make the direct link between a country that is isolated and a country that has a central database for management actions? I'm not sure if the two are related directly.
No, not particularly, but it was just if you were trying to look for examples of where it's working well. I'm also wondering, in the case of managing animals and birds, it's obviously issues that people don't want to put their data openly because of the sensitivity of the subject, basically,
Mhm.
which makes it very difficult to share with other countries.
Yes. Yes, and I know in Australia it's for instance difficult for certain universities to contact people with a survey because they have very strong privacy regulations. So I was trying to get the survey distributed within certain universities, but I'm not allowed, so it's difficult to get that information. But maybe I can try to pick other channels to get more insight into that.
Lynn,
Yes.
could you send me the survey? I can share it probably with my colleagues from the museum because there is a big center that's monitoring all this.
Sure.
I could share with you the link to their webpage, but it's in French only.
Okay.
But I can still do that.
Yes, that would be great. I will send you a link.
And same message here, Lynn. I think you can always reach out to us. I think we can find ways precisely to spread the word.
Okay, thanks. So I'm posting it in the chats. This is the link to the survey. So, and if you open it, you will see that you can choose different languages. So if needed, you can have it in Spanish or Portuguese, Chinese, or German.
Would you like me to translate it in French?
Oh, that would be really great.
Okay.
I can read French, but
No, but I mean, it could be easier for my colleagues here at the museum. Some are kind of not very comforted with English.
yes. No,
So,
no,
okay,
that would be
I
really,
would.
really helpful. I will
Okay.
share a link with you with the translation document so you can
Okay.
check.
Okay.
That would be great. Thanks. Another thing I wanted to mention, I'm not sure if you are aware of, there's an initiative in Cambridge, I think. They will also make a database to aggregate data on management data on a project level. So I'm trying to reach out to those people behind the database because I think that database will include a lot of valuable information for this task group. But I'm not sure if anyone heard of this initiative. It's by the Cambridge Conservation Institute, or yeah, I'm not sure if I have it correct, but so you have a link to the survey. I will send you then a link for the translation, Terry. That would be really, really helpful. Thanks. Any other remarks or questions? Shelley, I did it. Yes. Well, so I think it would be great if you could just also distribute it to through Western Australian for the wheat management. It could definitely include, yeah, interesting information. Thanks. Okay. So Terry, the chat is also recorded, right? Or should I?
Oh, I can record it if you like, and then I can send you the text
That
document.
would be great because
Yeah, I can do it.
I'm not that person that can do like 20 things in one time.
It's okay. It's okay. I can do it.
There are persons like that, but I can't. Thanks. Okay, so I think that leaves me on the last part is just giving you the specific details for this working group. So if someone is still interested to join the working group, we now meet on a monthly basis. The next task in this working group will be start focusing on the use cases. So that will be the focus on the next meeting. And if you know someone who could join, or if you would like to join yourself, it's best to go through the TEDWIC page. The page on invasive alien species, and there's the contact information for myself. And I hope that after this meeting, I can try to give Stan Bloom another push to make a mailing list, because that would make it more easy to contact everyone. I asked him like a while ago, and he was quite busy, so I should still nudge him to do this. But I think if there are no other remarks, we can close this meeting. I think I have some new insights that I can take with me for the next working group, task group. Sorry, task group. But yeah, thanks a lot for your input, Dan, and hope to see some of you in the next task group meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you
Thanks,
later.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.